Was there any particular it doesn't sound like you really needed to go somewhere to stretch your income and retire abroad. Like a lot of people are exploring it for that option. It doesn't sound like you needed to do that. Was there any particular reason why you left America?
I'm going to say it took me a while to figure this out, but I was just bored with America. I had been there, I'd done my 60 years and I've worked and traveled around and all sorts of things. And I was busy in my retirement for that 5 years after I retired. Um, but I just sort of saw an opportunity. In a way, also, the other thought that came to mind a couple of years after was to stay in the United States. You could call it your comfort zone, but to me, it felt a little bit like you're giving up and you're just going to coast to the end. And leaving, and in my case, Thailand, just seemed like a new opportunity, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
And 8 years, 10 months later, I don't regret any of the move.
Hi, can I ask you a favor? If you find our content helpful and it doesn't put you to sleep like my buddy Sheldon here, hit that subscribe and like button. It truly helps us grow and it helps us to continue to bring you content like this. All right. So today we are heading over to the beautiful country of Thailand, and we are sitting here with my friend Marty Pollard. Marty, how are you?
I'm doing good
Well,
here in
thanks for
Bangkok, Thailand.
yeah, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it. Let's Marty, let's start out by getting a little backstory about you. Tell us where you're from and how and how you landed in Thailand, and how long ago did this happen?
Okay, so my short biography is I grew up in Connecticut. Um, I went to the University of Connecticut, but about halfway through, I transferred to California, Northern California, Berkeley, where my parents had just moved. And I spent my adult life in the Northern California area. So I studied physics and mechanical engineering. I worked at a national laboratory in Berkeley that was run by the University of California. So I retired when I was 55, and that was in 2011.
Okay.
And um, so I had this good friend. He was actually my first roommate in college at the University of Connecticut. And when I moved to California a couple of years later, he moved and then he spent his adult life there. But he was going to Thailand for about a decade, like once a year type of thing. And he had talked about retiring there. And so about 5 years after I retired, he retired. And then um, uh, he retired to Bangkok. And so I took it as an opportunity to just travel and go visit him.
Okay.
Uh, and I had like no idea about Bangkok. I hadn't been to Asia in 25 years, and um, but I had been retired and I'd been doing a little traveling, and so I went to Bangkok, and I just loved it first day.
Uh-huh.
Just remember walking down the skywalk. He was, giving me the initial tour, and it was warm out. It was night. It was lively outside, and I'm thinking, this is great. And I had been to Berlin the year before, but when I got back from Berlin, I didn't. I mean, I loved it there and stuff, but I
Yeah.
didn't say I didn't want to move there. But Bangkok was different. Maybe it was a coincidence of that time in my life or whatever. And I wanted to come back right away. So that was 2015, the first visit. And I came back in February 2016 and again in September 2016.
Yeah.
I I hadn't planned to move abroad, but it just grew on me and that three trips. And then in 2017, I actually made the move.
Not sure which country is the best fit for your move abroad? The Ideal Destination Finder takes the guesswork out of the process. It's a customized 22-question assessment that reveals your top 3 destinations based on your lifestyle, priorities, and budget. Instead of spending months researching and second guessing, you'll get a clear, personalized shortlist to guide your next step abroad. And it could save you thousands by avoiding the wrong move. You can get started now at adventurefreaks.com. Just scroll down a little bit and you'll see the ideal destination finder on the left. Just click it and start the assessment. I also put the link in the description, or you can click the QR code above. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, in 2017, so you've been there now for 8 years?
8 years, 10 months. So I'm starting to call it 9 years.
Okay, is there any way, I mean, I've had those experiences too, and I love when they happen, when you go to a place and they just hit you in a way that you're going, this place is amazing. And you've been to other amazing places. Sometimes the other amazing places are even that much more beautiful, but there's something about a particular place that, so what was it? I mean, when you went to Bangkok at that time, is there any way that you could put that in words, like what you experienced differently from like Berlin?
Well, I mentioned it was warm at night. And so I will say the climate is
Okay.
one part, that kind of hit me at that first time. And and to put that in context, I was retired in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's just kind of chilly there, even in the summertime and
Yeah.
so on. Uh, I just love the idea that it's warm all year long. And if I have a choice between 3 months of excruciatingly hot weather and 3 months of cold, chilly, or snow or something like that, I at this point in my life, I just as soon have the warm weather. Then another thing is, I had no impression at all of Bangkok, and the SkyTrain is this elevated railway, and Bangkok turned out to be this very modern, high-rise metropolis. It's
Yeah.
huge, and
Yes.
I think like depending on where you draw the boundaries, like 8 million people. But on the ground level, it's very Thai, and I will call it urban Thai.
Yeah.
And there's street food vendors, and there's the carts on the sidewalk, but the heart this the shops, and then they have all these festivals that are going on all year long, and uh, it's just fascinating. It's a little bit gritty,
Yeah.
uh, and I mention that because, in contrast, when I would visit my sister in California, in Pleasant Hill, California, you go downtown and it's just architecturally perfect. It's clean, it's modern, it's obviously designed, and it just feels cold and sterile to me.
Yeah.
And when I come to ground level in Bangkok or anywhere in Thailand, it's a little gritty, but it's just very uh, more human
Yeah.
in my perspective. I mean, I understand different people have different ideas about what kind of environment they want to be in, but this one just grabbed me, so I like that. And then it is a Asian culture. It's very, very different here.
Yeah.
Say it's more different here than it would be if you went to Latin America or Eastern Europe. And one thing is, it's a very non-confrontational society. So it's just quiet. People don't honk their cars because it's rude.
Yeah.
And people don't, nobody is allowed to raise their voice or whatever. And so one thing I like to characterize is, there was this couple I know they were New York lawyers, and they came here, and 1 week into their visit into Bangkok, the husband came to me and said, I've been here 1 week and I have not heard anyone yell at anyone else. And so that is just normal. I mean, 9 years of people just kind of being cordial to each other.
Yeah.
But don't mistake that for thinking that Thai people don't have feelings, and they hold it
Sure.
inside, keep it within their behind doors. And when I'm driving with my girlfriend, she doesn't, honk the horn, but you can tell she's frustrated with some other driver. But if you're a pedestrian, everybody watches out for you. It's the traffic looks chaotic, but actually people are looking out for each other. No one's going to run into you if you step out into the street.
Yeah.
Um, it's got a lot of motorbikes, and those are dangerous. And motorbikes are dangerous in the US too. I used to ride a
Yeah.
motorcycle, and there's a lot of them here. But it's just an interesting culture, and I just really like it a lot. Um, And it does seem kind of another aspect to this is there are rules, but they're kind of loosely enforced. And once you sort of figure out what the flow of life is, it actually gives you a sense of freedom. So one
Hmm.
thing, well, expats in a lot of places, but certainly I know the ones here in Thailand, you just feel freer.
Yeah.
Um, and so uh, that helps. And then, of course, when you move here, I just got rid of everything. So when you go minimalist, that's actually quite liberating.
Yeah.
When you get rid of everything and do it. So it's a combination of the culture. Well, it's also a beautiful country. The climate, the culture, the food,
Yeah.
non-confrontational thing, the freedom that you feel here as a retiree. It's just all kind of ticks all these boxes for me.
Yeah. It's the way you described it. I think that everybody watching is going to want to move there now.
It's Bangkok
It's
is so big that even when you have, I don't know how many expats are living in Bangkok, but we're still a tiny minority. So
yeah.
yeah, but if you go to Phuket or Pattaya, then suddenly you see lots of other Westerners. But
Yeah.
uh, there's plenty of room here, and people
Yeah.
do spread out. They go to the rural areas. I lived there for a couple of years, and so on. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I shared with you off camera that I lived in Asia. The people out there, there is a less of an anxiety and there's a calm within the culture and a kindness within the culture, and it's really alluring to be around that all the time. And then you're like me. I like the gritty aspect of an urban city, you know. It's kind of like dirty, kind of gritty. The way New York was when I first moved there, New York City was kind of gritty, and then now it's all cleaned up, and all of the boutiques and all of the really interesting places kind of disappeared, moved out to the boroughs and Brooklyn and Queens. And so you walk around Manhattan and it's just different now. It's kind of what you described out in California. But it's still a great city. I love New York City, but yeah, it's interesting when these places touch you that way. Was there any particular reason? I mean, after you were an engineer, and uh, was there any particular reason? It doesn't sound like you really needed to go somewhere to stretch your income and retire abroad. Like a lot of people are exploring it for that option. It doesn't sound like you needed to do that. Was there any particular reason why you left America?
you're correct. One, I was an engineer for 30 years and I have a decent pension. And while there are a lot of YouTube videos about living elsewhere for a low amount of money, that wasn't my draw. Now, I
Hmm.
will say that um, I get benefits from the exchange rate, the lower cost of living, just like anybody else.
Sure.
So, uh, um, so I do that. But, I because of that, I came here because I like it here. Now, in hindsight, I'm going to say it took me a while to figure this out, but I was just bored with America. I had been there, I'd done my 60 years and I've worked and traveled around and all sorts of things. And I was busy in my retirement for that 5 years after I retired. Um, but I just sort of saw an opportunity. In a way, also, the other thought that came to mind a couple of years after was to stay in the United States. You could call it your comfort zone, but to me, it felt a little bit like you're giving up and you're just going to coast to the end. And leaving, and in my case, Thailand, just seemed like a new opportunity, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
And 8 years, 10 months later, I don't regret any of the move.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean, what is a couple things that you've experienced that have been extraordinary, maybe the biggest changes that you've had to move through after moving there? Anything
Well,
stand out or?
well, the obvious one and the one that everyone talks about, the two, is culture and language.
Yes.
So, Asian culture tends to be indirect, and Americans and Germans, let's say, tend to be very direct.
Hmm.
So if you want to get your way, let's say you're in front of the bank and you're opening an account, or you're in front of an immigration person and you're trying to deal with your visa or something, um, you're not going to like explain something to them or get them to change their mind about something. Um, if you can go about it indirectly or whatever, but you just have to stay calm and it's just a whole different culture. Your gut reactions, the things you've trained all your life on how to deal with personal interactions. It's just all different.
Okay.
And then the other one is the language, and it's interesting. So people want to move to, let's say, a country like this or Latin America, and you have a language barrier. And what you will find, I think, as a general rule, is that in the city, you will find people who can speak English.
Hmm.
Not a lot, but well,
Yeah.
so one, it's a transactional thing. If you're just dealing with a street vendor, they know the numbers and they know how to say hello, whatever.
Yes.
And there are other people who are just plain fluent, but obviously everybody's speaking their language. And Thailand doesn't have a reputation for high English language skills and that sort of thing. And if you move to the countryside, it's going to be much rarer to find someone who speaks English. And so if you're an aspiring expat and you don't like cities, well, then you're going to have that extra burden because you go out of
Hmm.
suburbs or whatever you're where you think you want to be, then you're just going to have a greater language barrier. In fact, it even goes to finding a place to live. If you decide, like I always tell people, if you're either vacationing here or living here, live near the train line, the
Yeah.
BTS, MRT. One of the reasons is if you live further away, you will of course get lower rents. But then to get anywhere, you're going to have to either get in a taxi or a motorbike taxi, and they don't speak English mostly. And so yeah, you can use Google Translate or you can use Google Maps to get around. But the bottom line is you're going to be in a Thai neighborhood where everybody speaks Thai,
Right.
including the 7-Eleven and all the little grocery stores and stuff. And so, even if you're in the big city, it's pretty easy to get into a Thai neighborhood, and that may be I know some people who do that on purpose,
Yeah.
but you have to have these expectations about language that you need to be in certain parts of town where you're going to have more expectation of one language and two services that allow you to deal with English. So when I lived in the countryside, I'd go to the movie theater in Ubon Ratchathani, and there were fewer movie selections than there are in Bangkok, which is a huge city. And sometimes you'd have an American movie that just only was dubbed in Thai, so you couldn't go watch it. You know, most of the movies in Bangkok, they're in English with Thai subtitles and things like that. But the language thing can get you here,
Yeah.
and it's probably the same rules anywhere else
Yeah. Yeah.
where it's Thai. So.
Yeah. And how, and it, before we jump into the numbers, I mean, how has your life changed? Has it changed for the better? What's changed since moving there?
Well, it's certainly better in the sense that I was looking for something different and I got it, and it's still 9 years later feeling good to me. Um, it's it's a little hard to do an apples to apples comparison because I went from living in Northern California in a house that was paid off to living in a condo renting in a big city.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a different lifestyle. It's a
It's a
different
big
thing.
change. Yeah.
But I like it, I mean, and for the first 6 years that I was living here in a condo, I didn't have a car, and so that was uh, good and bad. I mean, if I needed a car, I could rent one, and I would do that. And by the way, they drive on the left-hand side of the road here.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, but now I have a car, and so I can drive around. So I would, it's better for me because this is what I want, and it's different from what I had, and
Yeah.
but they're just different. They're good in their different ways, and this is what I'm doing now.
All right. So let's dive in. So, Marty, when you moved there, almost 9 years ago now, you needed to get a visa. So
Mm.
share with us what you know about visas for the viewers watching, for the retirees watching, considering moving to Thailand and retiring there. Um, what kind of hoops do they need to jump through, and what do you know about that?
Okay, so Thailand has a lot of visa options, and having a lot of options means that just makes it more complex. And so for retirees, there's kind of a decision tree. And so the first thing you need to ask yourself um, is, do you have $25,000, 800,000 baht that you're willing to put into a Thai bank account for visa purposes? So let's say the answer is yes. So then you get your visa before you come. I'm going to describe the situation today is a little different than it was 10 years ago, but you get your visa today in your home country from the Thai consulate in your home country. You
Okay.
come here, it's a 90-day visa, it's called an O visa, and you open a bank account as quickly as possible, and you set up the transfers from your home country bank to here, and you deposit the 800,000 baht,
Well, let's
$25,000.
back. Hey, this could be beneficial. So you're saying that you start with obtaining the visa in the home country in the U.S., and then you
Yes.
said you got to set up a bank account. And so how do you set up a bank account in Thailand from the U.S.?
You don't. You come here first, and then you
Okay.
start and you enter the banks, and you have to have a some kind of a residency document, which you can get from a hotel. But better yet, if you found a condo and have a 1 year lease in hand, that really works too. Then you just need a passport, and that's pretty much it. And or you
Okay.
need a phone. Oh, you also need a Thai phone number because everything's on a mobile app.
Hmm.
So you have to get a Thai number, your passport that you give to the Thai phone company and to the bank, it all has to match up. And when you open the account, you'll get a facial scan and all that kind of stuff. So I actually opened up a second bank account like 3 weeks ago and went through
Okay.
this. So but anyways, you open the bank account, you deposit it, and then that money, that $825,000 has to sit there for 2 months, and then you go to immigration and you extend for 1 year.
Okay.
And um, so you have a 90-day period, get the bank account, but then you have 2 months, and then you will need to go to immigration, and you don't want to go on the last day of day 89, for instance. You just want to make sure you have a little bit of time there in case you have to do something else. And but once you get that set up, then you extend for 1 year, and then for the rest of your life, you just every year you go in and you show them your finances, or you give them a bank statement, a 1 year bank statement, saying that you met the financial requirements, and then you get another year out of
Okay.
it. So that's one version. The other normal version is I don't have the $25,000. So then you come here, and I think you can do this as a tourist. You use a visa agent.
Okay.
And so a visa agent is somebody between you and immigration. And you just forget about the 800,000. That's not in your head. What you want to
Now
do
the
is find
800,000 is what?
$25,000. That's the
Okay. So
deposit.
that's the $25,000 USD deposit.
Right.
Okay.
So when you go to a visa agent, all you're looking for is a reputable agent that a lot of people use and trust, and you're going to pay their fee. And what they are
Mhm.
going to do is they're going to take your passport and they're going to open up a bank account for you, get you a non-immigrant O visa, similar to the one I talked about before, and then they're going to get you a 1 year extension. So you'll get 15 months for that fee.
I see.
And and the fee for that first time around is higher than it will be later on. So not having used a visa agent, what I see other people quote as fees could be anywhere from 30,000 baht to 70,000 baht. It can change based
What
on
is that
demand.
in USD for the viewers? Se-
Uh,
30,000 to 70,000 baht.
30,000 is $900. Now,
Okay.
70,000 would be like if you went to a law firm that act as a visa agent because you trust them rather than some guy in a little office in Pattaya. But there are visa agents. There are a lot of visa agents. The immigration department likes visa agents because they show up with all the paperwork, all in order, all complete, makes their life a lot easier.
Sure.
So let's just for argument purposes say that you find a reputable person and they charge you 45,000 baht for the first time around. So that's like $1,400.
Okay.
Then when you go back the following year to do the next 1 year extension, they maybe charge 10,000 or 15,000, something like that.
Hmm.
So, but you're locked into that for forevermore. And so,
So you can't just break out of it and start doing it yourself?
okay, so let me describe one other thing that you can do that might be of interest. There is something called the income method. So instead of parking $25,000 in a bank account, you can qualify by deposit having a monthly income of 65,000 baht every month. So that's $2,000 a month. And so to get that, you will have if you're an American, UK, Australia, Canada, and a few other countries, you have to show them a 1 year bank statement where you've put $2,000 a month in it.
Okay.
And um, and then you can use that. And the nice thing about it is you have to live off of something. So you're going to spend that $2,000 anyway, and you can spend it down to zero and the next month put $2,000 in it and it's fine.
Right.
Uh, and that gets you around the problem that some people have with the $25,000 deposit, because some
Sure.
people look at 25,000 and say, well, I'm not making any interest on that savings account. I'd rather invest it someplace else. And that
Yeah.
bothers them.
Yeah, most of my viewers are going to jump on the 2000 per month. I qualify, great. But my question was, if you use a visa agent, which makes it
Okay,
simple.
but I'm going to lead into that. The
Okay.
problem the problem with the visa agent is, let's say you've used them for 2 years and you want to break out.
Yeah.
The first thing the first thing immigration is going to do is say, show us a bank statement that says you met the financial requirements for the past year. And um, you won't be able to do that because I don't know what the visa agent does financially with immigration, but what they don't do is they don't meet the financial requirements. So for instance, the 800,000 has to be there 2 months before you apply, 3 months after, and no less than 400,000 for the rest of the year. So your visa agent isn't parking, thousands of dollars in there for you all year long. There it goes in and it comes back out, and you will not be able to get a bank statement that shows you met the financial requirements. You will have to go through the agent again, who is getting you these extensions through their relationship with the immigration. So
I
the only way to break, or the usual way to break out of it is to like leave and come back and start over with
gotcha.
like you done in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's like a cash flow problem. It's like if you were to take out a car loan, you could just pay it all in cash, like I did for my car here in Thailand,
Yeah.
or you get a loan and you pay interest on that loan, and so but you're locked in for a while and you're just paying more.
Yeah.
So, but you have the car because you can afford the monthly payment in a way you couldn't afford the lump sum payment.
Yeah.
So you just have to make that well, it's what you can do and what you want to do
Yeah.
type of solution.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for that. That's very helpful. Now, I've heard there's
Plus,
been
now you also know how complicated it is.
yeah, yeah, but there's some great options, and I think there's options for anybody to move there if you have even a modest income. I was reading about the crackdown on visa runs in Thailand and how they put a stop. Have you heard anything about that?
Okay, so there's two parts to that. One is a long running story, and that is, unlike the Philippines, Thailand does not want you living here long term as a tourist.
Hmm.
So 20 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, people would come in visa exempt for 30 days and now 60 days, and then they'd jump over the border and come back. And they would do that. And you have people who do that for years.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they just don't like that. So
Okay.
there's that. But more importantly, 99% of what's happening now is part of it has to do with scam centers, money laundering, and human trafficking. So earlier this year, a Bangkok bank branch in Pattaya got um, caught in a money laundering situation. A couple of the bank employees went to jail, but there were all these foreigners, Chinese, I think, in particular, who were coming in as visa exempt foreign entries, opening up bank accounts, and then, through all their complicated things, laundering a ton of money. And the
Hmm.
people in the scam centers, they come over here and they lure people in with jobs and bring them over the border. Anyways, what what happened is they said no more bank accounts on tourist entries. So it used to be you could come in visa exempt, just open a bank account. Now you can't do that.
Okay.
But because immigration didn't change anything, but because immigration has financial requirements that you have to show them when you show up, what the banks were doing was messing that up
Hmm.
for a lot of people.
Okay.
So so the crackdown on border runs is targeted toward making life difficult for, call it the criminal element that is doing this human trafficking and particularly the money laundering. And in Thailand, scams are a huge thing for the Thai population.
Yeah.
They were putting limits on Thai bank accounts for people over like 60 years old because they were just trying to protect them from giving all their money away.
Sure.
Uh, so they say, you can't transfer more than 50,000 baht at a time or something like that. And it was just to keep older people from being tricked. And of course, I've heard that these scam centers actually get more money out of Americans than anywhere else, but it's a huge problem for the Thai government as well.
Yeah.
So it's this whole thing about scam centers and human trafficking and money laundering that has fed into both the banking thing and the crackdown on border runs and things.
Let's dive into affordability now. All right. Everybody that's moving to Thailand, they need to find a rental. How do you do that? And what are they starting out at? I've heard actually there was some videos popping up last night in my feed, and there was two couples that moved to Thailand, and they were living in Bangkok somewhere. And I didn't watch. I just kind of clicked over it and listened a little bit. But they were bragging about their apartments on like the 37th floor. There's a pool, the views are spectacular, and they're paying 450 a month, and they got a gym and all of this stuff. Obviously, incredibly affordability, even in Bangkok. But what can you share about this, about the
Okay.
rents there, what you know?
So the first thing to remember is that when you come here to rent, well, first of all, you can't buy land in Thailand.
Hmm.
You can buy a condo. There's some rules about the building, but in general, you can freely own a condo yourself. But if you're renting, you will end up with generally speaking, a place that's fully furnished and has a gym and a pool.
Okay.
But beyond that, the same real estate rules apply here as anywhere. It's, the location, location, location. So, uh, bigger places are more expensive than smaller places, and newer places are more expensive than older places. And the further you are from the transportation line, the cheaper it gets.
Yeah.
Uh, Bangkok is more expensive than Chiang Mai and Pattaya, and those places are more expensive than the rural. So, it's your location. So if someone says I'm in Bangkok and I've got well, I actually know somebody who's actually a vlogger from the Philippines, and he spent his first year here, a little bit south of here, about 30 minutes on the train. And he was paying 450, and I could see from his videos, it was a very nice condo, and he had a pool and a gym there,
Yeah.
and so on. But he has recently moved to central Bangkok because it was just too far for him to go back and forth. He was actually spending a lot of money in time and transportation. He started language school. It was taking him over an hour to get to the school here in central
Okay.
Bangkok.
Gotcha.
So when someone says what you saw, I immediately think, okay, they're far from the BTS. They're an older building. or they're outside, their location is just not what my location is, for instance. So there's that location aspect to it. Now, when I'm this place that I'm in right now, I've been here 2 months, and I did it through a rental agent,
Okay.
and I found one from a friend, and I had very specific requirements. I was trying to move closer to my girlfriend's restaurant, so there's one BTS station, and I needed to be 10-minute walk from there. And so there's maybe 10 condo buildings here, and I saw this one, I liked it, and I said, well, I shouldn't take the first place that I see. So for the next 2 months, I was looking at some others, and this ended up being the only viable option because as location, I was so constrained as to where I could be. My friend who was in the $450 condo, he wanted to move further to the center, and he had a ton of area that he could choose from. So, he looked at 15 condos before picking the one that he got. So, it's there's a lot available. They're all furnished. There's new, there's old, there's big, there's small. So
Um,
then I'm in a one bedroom 60 square meter. So it's like
ooh,
it's 645. So yeah, 44 is 473 and this is 645. And one bedroom, it means everything's very spacious and so on.
okay.
And then I'm sort of in the central part of Bangkok. So I'm paying one 1,200 per month, which,
Okay.
blow people's mind on your comment section. But it's just because it's bigger and it's where it's located type of thing.
Hmm. That's interesting. The couple that I did, they were living in central Bangkok and they had a condo or apartment for 500 a month. So it sounds like the prices are all over the place.
Well, like I said, still, it's if it's an older building and maybe it doesn't have a pool and a gym. Well, you said they did, but this building actually is about 20 years old.
Okay.
Uh, but some of them are just opened last year. And so you might have someone may pay the same price for a smaller condo in a newer building. It's just
Yeah.
varies.
Yeah. Now, are you concerned about like living in any of these buildings in Bangkok about like earthquakes or anything like that?
There was one earthquake in March. It was actually in Myanmar, and it only affected Bangkok. So let me just put this. I'm from California. I felt a lot of earthquakes,
Right.
including the big one in 1989. Bangkok survived much better than San Francisco Bay Area did. So there was one unfinished building that everybody saw the video of. It was pancaked. But every place else in Bangkok, the buildings were open. They were just a lot of superficial cracks everywhere. Some
Okay.
of them pretty dramatic, but it was not structural.
Yeah.
And so the worst case was some people had to move out for a week, but I didn't. And uh, but because there was a demand to fix all these hairline cracks all over the city, they're still fixing them. I mean,
Sure.
my con is still patching little cracks here and there. Um, so basically, Bangkok survived it quite well from my California experience, but
Hmm.
that's not wasn't frightening. I happened to not be here that day. I was 3 hours outside the city, so I didn't feel it, so I can't say that. But I did see the videos of water sloshing out of the pools and things like that. So it was
Yeah.
a pretty big earthquake.
You mentioned that you can buy condos. So you've been there for 9 years. You're paying quite a bit of money for a rental there. Have you considered buying a condo? And what do condos go for? What do they start out at in Bangkok, Thailand
Well,
there?
when pretty early on, I sort of absorbed the message that condos are easy to buy, but hard to sell.
Okay.
Now, there are people who are, good at real estate and they do that kind of thing. I know an American couple, they said they bought a condo in Chiang Mai and it took them 3 years to sell it.
Hmm.
And if you're just buying it for yourself, then, if you're 60 years old or 65 years old, you just have to take the cost of the condo and divide it by your rent to ask how long do I start actually making any money off of this?
Right.
I'd be in my 80s by the time that happens.
Yeah.
So um, renting makes more sense. And I think that we're brought up in the United States to, that holy grail is to own your own freestanding house.
Yeah.
But when the well, at a certain age and when the rents are so low, uh, that logic doesn't always make that much sense.
Well, it sounds like you've kind of moved away from the idea of purchasing because of the it's difficult to resell a condo in Thailand. So is that
Well,
correct?
I just don't desire to own a condo.
Do you know what they go for if you want to purchase what they start
You
out at
know,
in Bangkok?
I'm no, I don't know the market that well. I once kind of calculated it where I used to live, and that's where I said, if I even bought, it would take me 15 years to recoup it, and I'm 60 years old, so what's the point?
All right, well, let's dive into some of these costs. So if you break down, let's for utilities, give the viewers an idea of approximately what you're going to pay for utilities per month there.
Okay, so when I came this year in January back to Bangkok, I decided to track my expenses like every month. So
Okay.
even today, I've got my monthly thing, and I break it down to food, which is like grocery stores or just buying a piece of food or whatever.
Yeah.
Then I have restaurants, which also includes bars because it's hard to
Yeah.
separate. Transportation, which I have a car, so it could be gas and taxis
Yeah.
and and things like that.
Okay.
And then there's the big miscellaneous category. But
Great.
anyways, I look the last couple of months, my cell phone service is $31 a month.
Okay.
My internet TV is $20 a month.
Okay. All right.
Nobody drinks the tap water, even Thais. I
Right.
don't think it's not going to kill you or anything, but nobody does it. So you live off of water. But anyway, my water bill here, which would be washing type stuff, is $3.80 a month.
Now, is that so what your water bill that you don't drink, but you use to wash clothes and
It's
stuff?
wash clothes, showers,
Okay.
toilet. So that's $3.80. Now, also saw that it's like $3 to get 9 liters of water here.
Okay.
So I go down to the 7-Eleven and I buy a 6 pack of 1.5 liter bottles, and it's about $3.
Okay.
So electricity is for me is $73 a month.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's important because it's it's a tropical climate and you want to use your air conditioning.
Yes.
So I, I typically have it on 12 hours a day, you know.
Wow.
Uh, if it's the hot season, I might run it all night long. I don't generally, but yeah, even now I'm running it at night.
Okay.
Anyways, it's so I'm running the air conditioning, let's say 12 hours a day, half the day. And I compare that to my heating bill in California. And California is not snow country or anything,
Sure.
but 10 years ago, I was paying $40, $50 a month for gas for a gas floor heater. And then in the wintertime, I'd pay $400 a month
Hmm.
because it was on and we're heating the house and it's
Right.
a 1930s house and doesn't, and that sort of thing. So
Yes.
$73 for 12 hours of air conditioning sounds like a great bargain to me.
Hmm.
Okay, so the next one is a transportation one, and that is the train system here, which I use a lot. Now,
Okay.
I do drive on a rare occasions. I'll take a taxi of some sort, but the train, I'm spending $117 a month on the train. So
$117?
yeah, now the BTS is not the cheapest way to go. A lot of Thais take buses and motorbikes and things like that. But I use the BTS, a couple of times a day. And
Okay.
so and it's a very extensive system. So like compared to the Bay Area, which has what's called the BART system, there's far more lines, goes far more places, and the trains are just beautiful and they're air conditioned, and it's just a pleasure to ride these things. But
Marty,
it costs something.
that's a lot of money. That's a lot more that you can buy monthly passes or do things like that, like in New York City. They don't offer a monthly pass in Bangkok?
I have for the subway system here called the MRT, I have a senior discount card, but the BTS is the above ground one is I can't do it for that system. They're two different
I
companies.
see. Okay.
So yeah, I just I want to be let people know. I mean, now I
Sure.
have a friend who rides the buses all the time. If I wanted to ride motorbikes, it's 60 cents or something to go someplace.
Hmm.
So, but if I want to take Grab, which is the Uber equivalent, when I want to go to the airport at 4 in the morning, I just book a premium Grab, show up at my condo and have them drive me. And, even that's trying to what a cab ride from the airport is typically about 400 baht. So it might be like 600 or 700 baht to take a premium Grab, which is a beautiful
How much
Chinese.
is that in USD for the viewers?
So, so let's say a 30-minute drive from the airport into Bangkok. Let's say well, if they use the meter, it's 250 baht, and that would be $8.
Okay.
And if they don't use the meter, let's say it's after midnight or something like that, it might be, let's say it's 450 baht, that's $14.
Okay. Gotcha.
And if you use a premium Grab and you end up paying $20,
Okay.
$21.
How about like groceries and restaurants per month?
So Uh, here is okay. This is incredibly individual. I no longer cook here. I buy snacks and things and drinks and orange juice and whatnot, but I eat out all the time. And um, I'm not really paying attention to prices, but naturally speaking, I go to some Thai restaurants and some Western restaurants.
Okay.
And there's this place I go to. I meet up with other expats, and I would have some cocktails and things, and I might spend $60 for a really good Western meal there and two beers and a cocktail and things like that. On the other hand, I would go to a boat noodle place near my other condo, and I would pay uh, what was it? It's um, 75, 85 baht now. I raised the price. So I'd pay $2.70 for a filling meal and a Thai iced tea.
And that's at
So
a what place? What type of place?
so there's there it would be a brick and mortar Thai restaurant,
Okay.
but in the sense that they it's not air conditioned. They just open the garage doors and it's open air and things like that. And some restaurants specialize like in one thing. Like this place specialized in something called boat noodles, and there was one other chicken dish that they did. And then others are full service restaurants with the doors closed and there's air conditioning and stuff. And then you might pay uh, uh, 200 or 300 baht. Let's say 200 is $6 to $8 or something like that.
Okay.
And and Thais order a lot of dishes and so on, so it can add up or whatnot. But if I'm just a single guy going someplace, I could end up spending less than $2 and have a really delicious cheap meal.
How about groceries? You said you don't buy,
So,
you eat out a
so
lot, but what do you think you estimate for groceries?
well, okay. My budget, I'm spending $430. But what I will say is this:
That's for
there are,
groceries?
yeah. Now,
Okay.
but
For a
listen,
guy
let me.
that eats out every night of the week, that's a lot
I
of
know.
money.
I know. So, but I'm paying imported Western food. But let me break
Yeah.
that down. There are fresh markets, like your farmer's market in America, and you go there and um, you can buy fruits, vegetables, and meats, fish, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to be, I meant to do this comparison last October, but it's going to be uh, very reasonable.
All right, thanks for that. I'm interested. So you moved out there in your 60s. You've been out there for 9 years and you have a girlfriend. So
Yes.
there's a lot of guys that, are single and they're retired and they're looking to do the same thing. How did you meet your girlfriend? How do you do that in Thailand?
Um, well, there's two things. Okay. First of all, I've not dated in the United States. And so all I know about the dating scene there is what I hear online and stuff like that. So what you can expect when you come here is two things. Age gap things are uh, 10 to 20 years is quite normal. I know all these couples that live out in the countryside or live in Bangkok and so on. I see them, they're married and been married for 10 or 20 years. And there's usually, they're usually younger, but it's not younger by like 2 years or 3 years. It's generally like 10 years or 15 years or something
Mhm.
like that. And they're in their 70s and the women are in their 60s. So
Right.
that kind of a thing. Uh, I'm 69 and my girlfriend's 57.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's 13 years, but we're both old people. But whatever your age is, wherever your age is, age gap thing is not going to turn any heads here. The second thing is that it's, as I said, it's a non-confrontational culture. People are going to be, you don't have to worry about a negative reaction when you meet somebody, you
Hmm.
strike up a conversation or whatever. They're going to be nice to you. They're going to smile. They're going to, it's going to be a pleasant interaction. You're not going to have any whatever is happening in the West type of thing. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to lead to a relationship, but I'm just saying is that personal interactions are civilized, cordial, friendly, whatever. And I imagine that's going to actually be a surprise to a lot of people, maybe a surprise to a lot of older people, guys that come here and so on. I would recommend that, but after that, I would recommend that the finding a partner, it's kind of like the normal thing. I mean, you could just go to a coffee shop and strike up a conversation with somebody. You could join a club and meet somebody. You could go on, um, say you go on a tour, a day tour and meet somebody in the van uh, or in the park. It's just it's not different in that respect.
Hmm.
It can be if you want to go to talk to the bar girls in the various bars and stuff, like that, 5 minutes, you're talking to somebody. But if you're looking for an actual long-term relationship, it's really the kind of the normal thing.
Yeah.
But age gap and positive interactions are can be expected.
Well,
It making
how did you meet your
I
girlfriend?
actually met through a matchmaker.
Okay.
Uh, I know a bunch of expats at this one bar, and a friend of mine tapped me on the shoulder Valentine's Day and said, "Tomorrow night there's a singles meetup." And and then I met at this matchmaker, and the women pay her to find Western men, and I met my current girlfriend through that matchmaker, and we hit it off right away. That was 10
Okay.
months ago.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
and then I just moved to this condo to be near her restaurant. So she's 57, she's 57. She went to Bangkok University and was a newspaper reporter for 15 years. And then she took over a restaurant. Her mother owns it, a little apartment building, and she's had this restaurant for 15 years, but
Ooh.
she's lived in Bangkok all her life, never married, never had children. And she knows Bangkok. She doesn't need Google Maps till we get like an hour and a half out of the city.
Wow.
And she has a car and she has a couple employees and
So
things like
now
that.
the Marty, now
So
the
the
viewers
middle
know why
class.
you eat out every night because you get to eat out free at her restaurant.
And I ate there for dinner tonight. So we one thing is I go to a restaurant 3 times a week at least. So yeah, that's I met her through a matchmaker and it's worked out great. And I worked out so great. I left one condo and moved to one near her so that now we're together more.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good for you, man. That's great. And congratulations on that. Well, the last thing we have, Marty, is healthcare. And we've done a few videos on the outstanding healthcare in Thailand and how people from all over that region go to Thailand if they have any real concerns because the healthcare is so outstanding. But is it affordable? Are you using the healthcare system? Do you pay any form of insurance to have some level of comprehensive coverage or coverage at all? Share with the viewers what you know about that.
Okay, so this is complicated, just like rents and buying and stuff is complicated. It's very individual, but there is a public system that you can use, and um, it's going to be your cheapest option. So if you're just doing something like blood tests or something like that, you can kind of do that. There's also these little clinics that, for $5 or $10, you can get some treatment or whatnot. But I and most people, most Westerners here will use the private hospital system, which is going to be more expensive. And this is where the ambiguity shows up. Americans, seems like most of them, a lot don't know this, but you cannot use Medicare outside of the US.
Hmm.
So if you're on Medicare in the US or haven't come from a country that has national health care system, you come here, you're not covered. And so now you're paying when you wouldn't have otherwise. So it's more expensive in that sense. The non-insurance cost for something here is going to be less than the non-insurance cost in the United States. Now, it might be 10 times less, or it might just be 10 or 20% less. Kind of depends on hospital and what you do. So, for example, in the US, I've had kidney stone issues, since before I came to Thailand. If I go to the emergency room in the US, I had a $150 deductible, and I just go there and they just give you painkillers and you're gone. I do the same thing here, it's $100.
Okay.
So that's the difference. It's cheaper here. The non-insurance price at an emergency room is cheaper than my deductible was in the United States.
Okay.
On the uh, so it varies like that. I do have insurance, but my insurance story went like this. I came in 2017. My insurance from the US would cover me as a traveler, but not as a long stay resident. So I shopped around for insurance, and it's a private insurance system. And I bought into a policy at 62 years old. And insurance, just the way the insurance works anywhere in the world, is it's your age, the amount of coverage, and the deductible. And in Thailand, you can pretty much assume your pre-existing conditions are not covered.
Okay.
So you're an old person. Being old is a pre-existing condition. So my kidney stones wouldn't be covered. And
Well, how would they
uh,
know you had kidney stones?
if, around the world, there's always a debate about, when you make a claim, whether they're going to pay it or not. So they
Okay.
have, there's no point in lying about something like that. So I've seen people post saying, I cannot get insurance because I have diabetes. Diabetes is a systemic thing, and anything that goes wrong with you could probably be tied to the diabetes. You know,
Okay.
in my case, kidney stones might not be covered, but I get in a vehicle accident or a heart attack or a stroke. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the kidney stones. So I'm going to
Right.
be covered for catastrophic things, which gets me to my deductible, which is 40,000 baht, or about $1,400, something like that.
Okay.
And uh, so 40,000 baht. So in 9 years in Thailand until last week, I never had a hospital bill that was over 20,000. So for all intents and purposes, I am self-insured. I am paying for all my routine care. And a couple of times, I've paid $600 to do something.
Hmm.
So, so there's that. But as a bonus, because I've made no claims, today I am paying the same rate I did 9 years ago because I have a 20% no claims discount.
Hmm.
There's that. I have a 10 million baht policy, which is $317,000, which is nothing in the United States.
Yeah.
But in Thailand, I just saw a woman a couple of weeks ago who got a heart bypass thing for 4 million baht. So she had like major heart surgery for 4 million, and I have a 10 million baht policy. So I'm probably overinsured on that respect.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
how much do you pay per month for that policy?
and so for that policy, I'm paying $2,475. That's a year. So that you
Okay.
pay you pay at the beginning of the year for the year. You don't pay monthly.
Can you find doctors that speak English, or is there a language barrier?
Okay, so let's just say Thailand is pretty affordable on price, but there's complications to that. The next thing is the doctors all speak English. So I
Okay.
go to the emergency room, the doctor speaks English. I go see a cardiologist or a neurologist, they all speak English. Some might be a little more halting and some may be totally fluent.
Yeah.
Then the nursing staff, they're going to know what they need to know to get your blood pressure and do some things like that. But there's always going to be somebody in the nursing staff that speak good English, or
Okay.
somebody at the admissions table that can go and speak good English. So and I found this. I went to a tiny clinic in the middle of nowhere. I had a infected cut on my foot, and he lanced it and cleaned it out and stuff. And he spoke English. He had trained in Chicago like 20 years ago or something like
I
that.
see. Oh,
So probably the first time he's had to speak English in years.
yeah.
But no, he spoke enough, and it was in the middle of nowhere, a little clinic, and
Yeah.
got treated. And even when I lived in the countryside, I lived near a city named Ubon Ratchathani, and there was a private hospital there. And the way I check these things out is you can go and get a comprehensive full body checkup. And you go on their website and they have basic, intermediate, and gold plan or whatever. And so for $600 or $700, you go in and you get a bunch of tests, x-rays, sonograms. I had a treadmill test once, all this kind of stuff, and they give you all the results, and all the different doctors, go over your
Hmm.
results with you. But one thing is you get to learn about the hospital. Language is not a barrier, and accessibility is beyond belief.
Yeah. All right. Well, that just kind of reinforces everything that we've been told and hear about the healthcare system in Thailand. All right. Well, thanks again, Marty, and I'll be in touch and have a great holiday, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, you too.